we did the manufacturing. And I think before I page over, I think just as a high-level summary, I think we want to say to the Minister that this new policy should ensure we create jobs. We all know the high unemployment rate that there is amongst our youth. So that's the first thing. Maybe the second thing is we've really got to talk mega investments here. Namibia has only got 2.5 million people, roundabout, and we should probably be looking at these investors that will manufacture or produce something that we will export in terms of the Africa Free Trade Agreement and AGOA and that type of thing. So that's what I think we should be looking at. We should be looking at really mega investors so they can create lots of jobs. So because I think the youth will become restless if we don't make sure that they've got jobs. So that's just as a start. So governance, I'm just going to take it maybe a bit back. On governance, we were saying, and I think it is already something that is in the policy, Dr. Mavindo, but we talked about specialized zones. So it's not just one area, but it could be any geographical area. The board, we were saying it should be a board that consists of somewhere between 6 to 10 members, not more than 10 members. The more people we have, the longer we get to make decisions. We think the composition should be 50-50 between government and the private sector. And the group thought that the chairman of the board must be from the private sector. So that was, then we were saying that we think that the board should be able to consult experts or specialists to make sure that they get the right guidelines. And we were also saying that there could be subcommittees on specific industries where those people know exactly what's going on in that particular industry, because you can't expect a group of 6 or 10 people to know everything about every industry. We also thought that the board should have a limited period, so every 3 years there must be a new board. And we also thought that there must be a body to monitor the board's activities. And we thought that the best people to do that is potentially the Namibian Manufacturing Association, the NCCI, and we probably think, I'm now thinking of the Chamber of Mines. But these industry bodies that are already there, that they should be able to consult with the board and give the board further, tell them how well they've done or where they've come short. So that was on that. We thought that the NSI, the Standards Institute, needs to be capacitated to make sure that we lift everyone in the country. And we also thought that the Namibia Anti-Competitions Commission should be capacitated to make sure that it's easier to do business. Just from the private sector perspective, we feel that the Anti-Competitions Commission has probably been a bit of a spoke in the wheel as from what it was supposed to create. Then we've got lots of incentives. The first one is, and I think I did say that at the start, but this whole objective must be that the jobs that are going to be created must be sustainable, long term. Weston, I'm happy to hear that you went for a 10% rate. We stuck to the 15% rate. But we do think that we've got to be competitive compared to the region. We are the highest tax rate between Botswana, South Africa, Mauritius. So we should have a competitive tax rate. In fact, I think if I've got lots of money to invest, my decision is going to be where's my investment the most securest, and where am I going to get the most return for my investment. And I don't think the general investor is so greedy that he wants everything. I don't think investors understand that there's a cost to doing business. So we've, and then we said maybe there should be a sunset clause on this lower rate. We said here 15 to 20 years. So that was that. It must be obviously available for local investors as well as foreign investors, so the same rules will apply to everyone. We believe that the incentives that are currently in the EPZ Act apart from the 0% income tax, so we must just park that somewhere. But all the other incentives, the VAT incentive, the customs duty incentive, the transfer duty, all those incentives we believe must just go as it is into the SEZ policy. Just to make sure we don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. We've already invented it. So, and I don't think the EU is going to be, or my information is, the EU is not going to be worried at all about those incentives. They were more worried about the 0% corporate rate.
How about the colleagues? Do we agree about the labor laws? The current EPZ ignore the labor laws. Are we going to continue ignoring the labor laws, or should we look at it? I think that is something that we need to look at.
Very good question.
We need to look at it.
Okay. I'm just going to put it on here.
Yeah.
You can obviously keep this. If you can read my handwriting, I'm an accountant, not accountants are like doctors, they don't write neat. Fortunately, they develop computers for it. So maintain the current fiscal incentives that are in the EPZ. Then we were saying there must be local, we must incentivize local procurement for these people that are coming to invest here by levying a tax on imports where local supplies are available. So if let's just take wood as an example. So if we've got wood locally and we want to import something to make, we want to import wood, we've got wood locally, then we think, apart from the customs duties or whatever that there is, there must be a further tax to disincentivize the manufacturer to import goods from outside. If we've got the natural resources locally, we must first use them. I know I'm between your lunch, but I won't be too long. We thought that there must be funding from, and we put GIPF in inverted commas, the DBN, to targeted activities to replace imports. So we think there's funding, there should be funding available from the GIPF. Lots of money is outside Namibia. We must get that money in, and we must say, if someone is replacing an activity for goods that we are importing, then those people must get special funding to make sure. And it's not that they get it for free, but the normal funding arrangement where you would pay it back over time. Then a fund for disaster incentives, also out of this money that is available. Typically, we heard there, we didn't anticipate where we are now, but we thought we will make it wider, a disaster incentive, to make sure current businesses and even those new businesses that are there, that they have some sort of help to carry on. Again, probably not for free, but at some point, because otherwise our GIPF pensioners will not have any money if we just keep on giving the money away, but some sort of thing to help people survive. And out of this, there must be then a mandate to allocate funds to SMEs and manufacturers, these guys that are in the SEZ. Then the same point that I think that we talked about earlier is IPP generation. Take the 30% at least up to 50%, so that I, as the investor, can decide where am I going to get my power from. That I'm not forced to have it from the national utilities. Reduce transfer duty rates to acquire land for these new investors. Special loans for land acquisition from the local authority or the government. There must be a time period for that to repay, and special interest rates. Reduce transport levy, training incentives from the NTA. The NTA, I understand, is sitting on a heap of money. Maybe they can help these people to skill up our labor force and incentivize skills transfer from the NTA. So if I, as the investor, am able to transfer skills to my employees, I should get a bigger incentive from the NTA than the current training levy that's available. And I think that's all.